Page 14, Blue Moon. At the top of the page, they're introducing you to the key of G, G major. You notice that at the beginning of each staff there is a sharp sign put in it. Well, G major has one sharp. See, in the past we've been in C major, and hopefully you've been doing the scale on C major scale, at least one octave up and down. Well, now you need to start doing my scale video on G major, one octave up and down. Learn the scale, learn the fingering. It will help you out in playing in the key of G major. It'll also help you out with the technique, because I explained the technique in that video, and that'll help you out in your playing on these. It simply means all the F's in the piece, wherever they are going to be F sharp automatically. Now, for Blue Moon, common time or 4/4 time, it has a pickup beat. You notice the first measure only has one quarter note in it, one count. If you look at the last measure at the bottom of page 15, you'll see it has 3 counts. It's a dotted half notes. Put them together, you got 4 counts total. The point is, we're coming in on beat 4. We'll take it one hand at a time, because we have some interesting rhythm things going, and we have multiple voices going on, all kinds of wonderful things. You're just going to love it. I know you are. We're starting here on 5th finger for the pickup note. It puts us in this position. And it's 4, and then here, 2. You see that whole note doesn't have a stem, so that's the top voice anyway. But the half notes, the stems are going down. There's 2 voices in that top staff. Top voice and then the lower. It's like the altos. We're keeping track of 2 voices here. And on piano, that's kind of important. Well, on any instrument it's important, but we want to keep it in mind as we play it, because it has to do with how you interpret the music. We've got to learn some things about interpreting music. So it's here. 1, 2. And then the next one is 1 and 2 and. 1 and. Your 3rd finger comes up. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and. There, and then it's a thumb on the F sharp, and I hold that down for 2 counts. That's like the bottom voice again, and then here. Try and connect here to here. Here. Now, if you have really big fat fingers and you can't get up in here, that causes a problem, because you need to have here. Otherwise, you got to figure out a way to get here. And that doesn't work out real well. That's quite a stretch, although if you have really big hands you may be able to do it. Here, and then 5th finger for the second one is one way to do it, and then 3, 5 there. Otherwise, use the fingering in the book if you can. And then for the second line, come down. You have a half a beat rest there. Come down, same rhythm. And they sing 4/1. I prefer 2 on that F sharp. So, because that's not much of a stretch. That keeps my hand out here. I'm going to hold that F sharp down. And then it's a rest for the bottom voice, and then you get the F natural. They even tell you it's an F natural. Isn't that nice? Because it has a natural sign in front of it. And remember, a natural sign takes away the sharp or flat. So it's an accidental. A natural sign is an accidental, so it has to follow the rules of accidentals, which means it's only good from that point on in that measure, and only that measure. So if we had an F in the next measure, it would be an F sharp again. Again, now during the rest, you come down again. And for the first ding at the bottom, scrunch up, put 5th finger on it. Because you want to hold that down for 6 counts. It's tied to a half note, and you do here and second for that bottom note. And they tell you pass the thumb under. Well, that's fine. And reach up for the octave, and then you repeat back up to the reverse repeat sign and do it again. Now, on that, at the beginning here, that first full measure here, you can use 3rd finger here if you want. Because when you repeat you can do that like they're telling you to, but 3rd finger is also available. If you prefer to use it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Now jump back down to the second ending. You're here. Now hold that down as the B and the C. And then press the thumb under again, and that's by itself. So it's the last measure. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up. Then we just get one voice here. If you don't want to use the same finger in all those notes, then use different. You can use. It's up to you. There's all kinds of fingering patterns for repeated notes. I can do 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, or a 1, 2, 1. You can play around with it. Using different fingers on repeated notes comes in handy on really fast pieces because you get tired real quick using the same finger. Real quick. It's much easier to use different fingers, but it takes a while to learn to do that. I've had a little bit of practice on it. And it doesn't matter necessarily what the fingers are. The point is you want to stay relaxed when playing the piano, and if you start tensing up here because you're doing that, then please use different fingers. Just alternate. Do something. You can use 1 and 4. Doesn't matter as long as it's just not the same finger. Otherwise, you can use the same finger. There's no rule says you can't. So fourth, let's go down to the next line. In the last measure, those are F naturals. Remember, that natural sign isn't accidental, just like a sharp or flat would be if they put that in there. And it's good from that point on for the rest of the measure. So all of those F's in that measure are naturals. But in the next measure, they're sharp, F sharps. They give you a sharp sign in the third line, first measure. There's sharp sign in parentheses. That's a courtesy sign. They're just telling you, oh, by the way, this is an F sharp. They don't have to put a sharp sign there. It's an F sharp anyway. But it's safe to do that because that way you know, well, did they make a mistake? Should it have been a natural? And they just didn't put in the natural sign. Because if they want an F natural there, they have to put in another natural sign. It's a new measure. So this way, by putting in the sharp sign, it's sure, it's clear. You know it's a sharp, so it's okay. And then for the A's, it's 5, 2. And that way you're in position for the D. So fourth, go down to the last line. Well, it's the next to last line on page 15 of the last measure. Here, you're here. I don't know why they did that. They're starting with second finger. Throughout this whole piece on this type of passage, you've been starting with first finger. So I don't understand why they didn't just bring you down. Let's just start with third finger. You got a half beat rest here. See why I'm suggesting that is because for the first measure, the last line, they want little finger. You scrunch up a little bit. Well, if you're using third finger, you don't have to scrunch up as much. If you're using second finger, you got to scrunch up more. You can do either one. It's just, why not be consistent? If I'm going to start each of these passages with third finger, I'm using third finger. Why not use third finger here too? And then the last one, your fifth finger, hold it down as you do the F natural. They have a G sharp augmented. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Just skip that. The note is an F natural. And then here. Now we're back to this voice. Hold this down until you play the G again. So that gets 2 counts. 1. And then fifth finger again. Because you're going to hold that down as you play the C and the B natural. There's a lot going on in the right hand. Left hand. You're here to start, so it's 1. They want fourth finger, so you're kind of here, and that's okay. And then they're saying second finger. That can be a stretch for small hands. If you have small hands, you might not want to do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but you can also use thumb again. I'm using 4 and 5 for these bottom notes. So if you want to use thumb for both top notes, that's all right. Second line, second measure is 1, 2, 3. And then a 5-1, it's a D and a C. And then the last line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. They say F sharp. Well, yeah, it's in the key signature, it's a sharp. Go on to the second ending. You got 2 beats rest to come down here. 1, 2, 3, and. That is an 8th note. So it's 3 and. Get off quick. Because these G's in the right hand need to be by themselves. Top of page 15, we have 2 voices going on in the left hand. So it's here. It's sort of like there's 3 voices in this piece, and before both voices were in the top staff, and now there's 2 voices. The middle voice has gone down to the bottom staff because it's singing in the middle or playing in the middle, and that's okay. I don't care which staff the voice is in. It could be any. It could switch and do whatever. So we have 2 voices. You have a here. Hold the C down. It's a whole note. They're giving you F sharp again. It's in the key signature. And then here, hold the whole notes down. The little finger on the E flat, F natural, B flat. You can do a 1-4 here if you want. I prefer a 4-2 if you can reach it. And then I can do a 4-1 if I want. Their fingering is here and then here. I find that a little tricky to go from here, 4-1, 2, 3-1. Because it's a C natural in that second. See, that sharp is only good for that measure. So it's a. So I would prefer to do a 4-2 and then a 4-1 and then a 5 for the other. Is what I suggest. And then 1 beat rest to come down here. It's a B and an A. I trust you know the names of these notes. You need to know them. And then each note goes down a half step. So it's a B flat, A flat. You can use the same fingers. And then next you go down another half step to an A and a G. And then they're saying 2-3 on the D F sharp. Well, that's okay. And then do it again. Last line, last measure. A flat, they're saying 5-2, and then a 5-1. Going down a half step. That's okay. You can also, if your hand's big enough, do a 4-2, and then a 5-1. If you have smaller hands, it doesn't work. You can use the fingering in the book, it's fine. There's different fingerings. I can do a 4-1 and a 5-1. It's tricky when you're sliding off. You have to time it just right. If you don't, the notes in the last chord won't be together. Put the hands together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. Let's go on to the second ending. You're here. Watch out on the second line, last measure. That D is a whole note. Hold it down for the whole measure. Then next line. And then the last line is here, here. Hold that E down. so forth. It's tricky. You don't have to go that fast. You take it your speed and then work out those spots where you're hesitating or wrong notes or whatever. Just get rid of those. It's a slow piece, but the beat has to be a steady one. And we can add there's not a lot in articulation. You got slurring going on. Play it as legato as you can, except for the rests. So just connect everything. You lift up for the rest, but connect this left hand. At the first ending, the last measure there on the quarter notes, lift up before you do the high D. So it's like taking a breath. So it starts a new phrase. So here, lift up before you go that. Second ending, you're here. Just connect. And don't overlap this to this. We want a little silence there too. Here the rests are forcing you to do the phrasing, and that's fine, but the left hand, connect it as best you can. You may not be able to totally, but do the best you can. Then the dynamics, it's a gentle piece. That P at the beginning is for the melody, and that's the top note in the right hand. Everything else should be very soft. You'll have to decide what's soft. Now at the bottom of the page, on page 14, the eighth notes, it's moderately soft. Here you come up just a little bit. But the left hand stays very soft. And I come down a little bit at the end of a phrase. It's called shaping a phrase. It's part of our interpreting. Is you typically, at the end of a sentence, you might come down a little bit. That's typically how we do it. You just come down a little bit. Same thing in music. You just come off of a phrase a little bit. Okay. And you start again. Down. So with each phrase you can come down a little bit. You don't do it all the time, but most of the time you will. Now in the second line, you see a crescendo there in the first measure. You're going to gradually start getting louder, and you're going to go all the way to loud at the third line, second measure. Don't get loud till then. So take your time. You may do it like a measure or two at a time. I'll just stay the same, and then after a measure or so, I'll get a little louder, and another measure, I may get another loud. You have to span it out. Otherwise, you'll be loud by the next measure. You'll get loud too soon. So the second line here, you're moderately soft here. I'm staying moderately soft here. A little louder. Now a little louder. And here, that's loud. Don't do it in the left. The left to keep the left hand down. So that's loud. And then come down a little bit to sort of loud. That's the top, that's the melody. This left hand needs to be soft. And at the end, they don't really give you anything here, but I suggest you kind of die away here. Die away at the end. You're ending a phrase too, and then this is soft. Here, make it soft. You got to get to know it well enough that you start feeling the dynamics. I mean, you can kind of try and force them. They're artificial if you do that, but you try to get an idea. But once you get into the music, you let it flow. You play it. You interpret it. How do you feel it? That's how you play it. So like in the second full measure, lead it, go on to here. Here, so you and land on that third beat. you learn to feel the music and get into it. That's where the magic really happens. Speed-wise, I think it's about where I'm slowly with expression, and it's the expression that's the really important part here. So get to know it, and maybe a glass of wine or two might help. I'm not sure, but just now you have first and second endings. We know about those. I'd like to play this with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the dynamics. I'm not going to interpret it. We're just going to check notes and rhythms here. I'll give us 3 counts because we come in on beat 4. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3,